So I'm Joe Compagni. I'm a former college head coach. I was the head coach at California University of Pennsylvania for 4 years, way back in the day, and then at Monmouth University from 1995 to 2019. And now I coach a club team on campus, and then I do some um, meet management work with a couple different conferences.
Just a couple different ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question I have is, you've had like such a successful team and such great results with that. When do you think your team was the most successful, and what would you accredit it to?
Um, I think that there was a good chunk of years there, my last few years where the teams had some great success. And I think that a few of the keys were, well, probably three things. One is super important and sometimes out of a coach's control to some extent, that the school is supportive of your program. There are teams that we competed against that had the same resources in 2019 that they had in 1995. Same facilities, same coaching staff, same scholarships, same everything. And some of those coaches are great coaches, but there's only so much they can do. You can only do so much when you don't have the support. So that's huge. And, it's so important that people realize how valuable that is and how nice it is at a place like Monmouth that is supportive of the teams there and was very supportive of the track and field program. So that's huge. Second thing, really, it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. I was really fortunate to have some great assistant coaches who, after they were with me for a year or two, I sort of knew that I didn't have to worry about their area or what they're doing at all, because they were going to be the head coach of their portion of the program. They were going to recruit some great people. They were going to coach them. They were going to mentor them, and they were going to do it the right way. And you bring those vet groups together, and you have a great team. And then the third piece, I think that's huge for every team that's successful, is just the leadership on the team. And it's amazing. It's a whole nother conversation, but it's amazing how valuable that is, and how just a few people kind of tugging in the wrong direction, if they have a big voice, can derail, a really successful team, and how valuable on the other side, a group of people pulling in the right direction can be to help people do some things that they absolutely couldn't do by themselves.
What do you think is the most important thing to have among the athletes, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think that all coaches and all teams talk about leadership, but it's important to understand what that is and what that looks like. And it's an attitude, and it's an energy, and it's easy. I'll tell you a story to give you an example of that. I remember years ago, one of our first All-Americans was this tremendous hammer thrower, and at the conference meet, he would do hammer, shot, and disc, and would usually win or be close to winning the conference in all three events. And at our men's teams meetings, he would never say a word. And so finally, after a while, we said to him, "Hey, any chance you can speak up a little bit?" And he said, "Well, one, I do, but you guys don't see it. And two, there's some people that like to speak up when you guys are around just for show, but they're really not doing those things we're talking about." He was like, "I want to make sure I'm doing those things, and I'm speaking up, when you don't see it." So, so it's easy to say, "Oh, I'm a good leader," or to stand up in a meeting and say some things, but it's more important just day to day. Who's that person who is helping you at practice? Who's that person that lifts you up when you're having a tough day? Who's that person that reaches in track? You're not all in the same place at the same time. So who's the person that reaches across event groups and, wants to know what's going on beyond just their group that they train with every day? Those are the things that add up. You think about some people starting to do those things, and then, then you're dangerous in a good way.
Yeah. And then I feel like Monmouth, especially my freshman year, was such a huge, like track in general, you can have such a huge team because of how many events there are and everything.
Right.
How do you spent so many years being the head coach, how would you manage such a big program for men's and women? Like both of them were so big.
Yeah, it's funny, Kat. We had some great discussions with Dr. McNear, our former athletic director, who again was so supportive of our program. And there were days or months or maybe years where she thought I was crazy because our team was so big. And there were times it was bigger than what you see now. And we had some good academic discussions about what's the right size of a track team. And I always made the case that, we're talking about a sport where there's 19 or 20 different events. And if you're going to have a good team, you need several people in each of those events. So, let's say it's 20 events and it's 3 people per event. That's 60 people. Now, obviously, there's overlap and people that do multiple events, et cetera. But the idea that, you can have a great track team that's 10 or 15 or 20 people, it's kind of like, well, would you have 11 people or even 22 people on a football team when there's 22 positions? No, you have backups and reserves and people who are still developing and people who are evolving in practice, and they're going to be more valuable to the team when they're junior seniors. Would you have a basketball team with 5 people? No, you're going to have at least 10, if not 15. So I always think that's true in track as well, that it's easy to say, well, just get somebody to do that event. Get that one person who can, throw 55 feet in the shot put, and then you got that covered. I'm like, well, no, it doesn't really work that way. You need to develop people like you do in any sport. You want an event group, every group to have their own group, and you want to have some depth. So I don't know if I answered your question as to
No,
how
that
you do that, but I think it is important that happens, and just from the university side too, that's where track and field is unique, because if I'm the soccer coach, I probably don't want more than 20 or so people on the team, because I can only have so many people on the field at the same time, and some of those people get cranky because they don't get to play. So having a 30-person soccer team, some coaches will say, you're going to have 15 unhappy people because they're not going to play very much. Well, in track and field, our roster of 58, most of those people are going to have an opportunity to compete during the season or compete at a conference championship. If you have whatever, let's say 3 people per event. So
what advice would you give to some of those athletes that might feel lost in such a huge team like that, or even just in their own event group?
yeah, good question. It is, that's probably the downside is, you're giving each event coach a dozen people or so, 12 or 15 people, and you still want your coaches to be able to coach each person and get some individual attention. So I would say if somebody's a younger athlete or an athlete that's not feeling like they're getting a lot of time or attention, they need to first stop and reflect and think about, well, why is that? Is it because I'm not putting the time in? Okay, maybe they are putting the time in. Is it because I'm not asking questions at the right time, or I'm not approaching the right people? Sometimes there isn't enough coach energy to go around to give everybody what they feel like they need. But I think from the athlete side, you can craft that a little bit. You can sort of be like, okay, what's the best way for me to get what I need? Maybe it is going to see a coach in the office, or maybe it is coming a little early or staying a little bit late, and figuring out a strategy to get what you need so you can develop. There's an expression that I've heard some coaches say about, well, some people say, well, I don't have favorites. And some coaches say, yeah, I do have favorites. My favorites are the people who come early and stay late and work hard and support their teammates. And, those are my favorites. So it's like, well, how do you get the attention you need? Well, you do the things that, you would want, that a coach wants to help you be a valuable part of the team, even if you're never the top person on the team.
Yeah.
I felt like, as an athlete myself, I was never the top person on my team, anywhere I was, high school, college, or beyond, in a club. But I felt like over time, I was finding a way to contribute, and finding those different ways to be valuable to the team, and finding a way to help. Long story short.
I also wanted to talk about like the importance of walk-on athletes. I feel like, especially with track, you can, it's very numbers based and very like, results based, but sometimes those walk-on athletes can really turn around and at time, like even Allison Todd was our what's it called, or shot put school record holder, and she was a
Yeah.
walk-on. So I
Yeah.
wanted to ask what you think, like coming on as a walk-on, it can be very intimidating. What do you think they should think of, like how should their mentality be going into the practices with the team, knowing that they came on a different route?
Right, right. That's a great question. And if somebody's at a Division III school, well, then everybody's a walk-on. And even at a Division I school like Monmouth, there's this impression that everybody's on a scholarship, and it's not true. Again, our roster was 58 men and 58 women. The NCAA cap for scholarships in Division I track and field is 18 for women and 12.6 for men. And Monmouth doesn't even have that number, and most schools don't, to be honest. The schools that do are the schools in the Power Five conferences, and not too many others. So the majority of schools don't even have that number, including Monmouth. So even if you split those scholarships up, there's a lot of people that are not getting any help, or they're just getting a small amount of help. I always wanted to, as a coach, once we had our team set, we're going to go out to practice the 15 distance runners or the 10 sprinters or whatever that group was. Everybody was the same. It wasn't like, okay, if you get a $5,000 scholarship, you get 3 turns in the blocks, but if you're a walk-on, you only get 2 turns in the blocks. No, everybody's the same. Everybody's going to get the same opportunity. And as an athlete, you have to realize that hey, we're all getting the same chance here. I'm in the same weight room at the same time with the same strength coach. I get my turn in the circle, and then realizing that sure, you may have to earn your opportunity to go to some meets, but in track, that is as fair can be. If somebody's throwing 14 meters and somebody else is throwing 12 meters and there's only 3 spots for that meet, well, guess who's going to get it? So it's very numbers based. It's very easy to earn a spot, and again, it goes back to like, what does it take to be a good leader? You can be a good leader as a freshman on the team, scholarship, non-scholarship, by bringing that great energy to practice, and then you think about a coach sitting down to do entries, and they're like, oh boy, should we bring 4 people in the discus this week or 5? And maybe that 5th person is somebody that is a non-scholarship person, but they've been working hard at practice. They're encouraging everybody else in their group. They're working really hard, and then the coach is like, well, yeah, I think I'm going to bring that 5th person, because they're going to bring some great energy to the meet. They're not going to be an energy sucker. They're going to be an energy giver to everybody else, and they're just going to make everybody else better, and they're going to make the most of that opportunity.
Yeah. And I know that well, I'm a little biased, but the conference championship for the MAC and for Monmouth is like one of the biggest reasons why I feel a lot of athletes love being a Monmouth track and field athlete.
Sure.
And we've had so much success being in the time that we've been in the MAC. But do you think that winning all of those championships, do you think that makes the team, or is there more, not makes a team, but like gives kind of I don't know, like a value to it that is more important than any other meet or whatever?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that, whether you're a MAC school, an SEC school, Big Ten school, the conference is always going to be a big deal. You're in this conference. There's usually some rivalries there. It's something that's valuable to the school, so then it's going to be valuable to the team. So the conference meet is always going to be a big deal. One of the things that one of my cranky things about college track and field is that a lot of the meets during the season, you don't even keep score, and I came from other sports, from football, basketball, lacrosse, other sports, where you always keep score and you always know what the score is. And in track, sometimes we just don't do that, and there's different reasons for that. But at the conference meet, we've kind of said, hey, let's make sure that we're sharing what the score is all the time, because there's some schools there that, like Monmouth, where we're going after the title every year. And there's other schools there that come to the meet and they say, hey, we were seventh last year and we scored 42 points. Our goal is to be in the top 5 and to score 70 points. Um, and everybody has something that they're shooting for, and the conference meet is important in that way. And in track, it's that championship time is that time when it's not just how far did I throw or how fast did I run or how far did I jump. It's, can I score for the team and can we work together to finish where we think we can finish.
Yeah.
So.
And then my final question is, what's your favorite part about coaching these teams, and do you miss any of it?
I miss all of it. I loved it. I was really fortunate to come into Monmouth at the time that I did, and the school evolved while I was there. Athletics evolved, some of the things that we did and facilities that you have now that just weren't there then, and support that's there now. I think as a coach, the thing you miss the most is just the day-to-day with student athletes, having a group that's together and of course we're working hard, but having a good time, joking around with each other and getting that, 2-hour break from their academic day and from the rest of their life where they can just be an athlete and where you can train and be with your teammates. And I think if you talk to your former teammates who are alums now, of course you miss the meets, of course you miss the competition, but you miss just this opportunity to, you show up every day at 3 o'clock and there's 10 or 20 or more people that love to do what you love to do, and you get to train with them, and then you get to do some traveling with them on the weekends and to go compete. When you're in the moment, you're a high school athlete or you're a college athlete, you take that for granted a little bit because it's what you've always done and it's what you've always been a part of. When you take a step away from that, you're like, hey, wait a minute, it's 3 o'clock. Like we're not, I still got to sit in this office here. We don't get to go run and jump and throw and get on a bus this weekend. I think former coaches, former athletes miss that part the most, and the connections that you have with those people.
I know, as I'm about to graduate, I'm already like what am I gonna do?
Yeah. The neat thing in track, and I say this because I'm coaching with a shore athletic club now too, is you can keep going in our sport. I think it's harder if you're a football player or some other sports. There's limited opportunities once you get after college, and in track there's all these meets that still happen, but it's still hard and it's still different, because you're probably doing a lot more of that training on your own and getting to meets on your own. And the club is kind of a team, but it's not the same kind of team that you have in college. There's nothing like that.
Okay, well, thank you so much for
Sure
coming on with me. I really
Yeah.